Good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming. Sorry for the confusion. I think a couple of emails went out, so I'm glad that y'all made it tonight. Hope nobody shows up tomorrow night. I'm Kari Seltzer. I'm the freshman counselor. We're going to go through each year, kind of touch on what you guys should be focused on based on freshman, sophomore, junior year, as far as the college application process goes. We've done this evening a few times, lots of different ways, and it always seems to be like we give out way too much information and parents come out really overwhelmed. So this year we decided just to break it down to the bare bones. I know the past couple of years have been really weird, obviously with COVID. The application process has been different, and students now, like, they haven't had a whole lot of information about this. You know, there hasn't been contact like this. So we want to just break it down, like I said, and just go over the basics of what you need to know. We'll be happy to answer some questions after we're done. But I'm going to go ahead and get started with the freshman year. Do we have any freshman parents? Oh, yay. Okay. Now I have pressure. No, I'm kidding. All right. So the first thing on my list is to create a 4-year plan, and that's something that I'm doing with the freshmen now as I go over their schedules for next year. We sort of map out a 4-year plan, or we talk about the fact that they're on track for graduation, or they may have some credits to make up. So that's something that I do with them too, and I'm happy to share that 4-year plan with y'all. I have them take pictures if they want to take pictures of it. Obviously, that's something that changes potentially every year. But we always make sure that they're on track to graduate. We're going to do, in the next few months, we're going to go into classrooms, the freshman classrooms, give them a copy of their transcript, and make sure they understand what's on the transcript. So they know how to interpret it, they know where their GPA is, that they report to colleges eventually. Basically, they understand that the GPA matters now and their grades matter now, because I know that in the middle school, that wasn't going to be on their permanent transcript, but now we're talking serious business. It's on there forever. So just helping them understand the transcript and understanding how the levels of classes impact GPA and things like that. So we're going to be going over that with them as well. Focus on getting those good grades. Like I said, they matter now. Not that they didn't in the past, but again, it's going to be on their transcript. Keep developing those good study habits. Hopefully you guys are working with them on that as well at home. Participate in extracurricular activities. I know the freshman year is a lot about just getting used to high school and finding their way around and things like that, but hopefully now they've had a chance to sort of at least explore some opportunities. At Brentwood High School, we have a number of different clubs, both academic and non-academic, and there have been many students who have created their own club if there's not one in particular that fits their needs, and that's a great thing to do. It shows leadership, which is something that colleges down the road are going to be looking for as well. So we highly encourage students to participate in extracurricular activities. If a student is interested in playing a sport in college, need to research NCAA eligibility requirements. That's something you can find on their website, and we're happy to talk you through that as well, based on the classes that you might want to take next year going down the road. Build your resume. Students need to go ahead and start that resume now, because when they're seniors, trying to remember everything they've done, it's really hard to do. I know some of you parents here as juniors are thinking, oh my gosh, I wonder what they're going to put down. If they start that resume now, it's going to be a lot easier for them to remember all those details of the wonderful things they've done over the past 3 years. Start thinking about life after school. Identify their interests. Youth science is something that I've talked about a lot this year with my students. They did that in the 8th grade. I've encouraged them all to go back into youth science and log back in. They've opened up some more tests. They've opened up some more information. It's really valuable and very useful information, both for me as a counselor later down the road and for them just to kind of explore those aptitudes and interests and where they match. It's really great information. They can research some jobs they may be interested in through youth science as well. Saving for college is another big one. I am not a financial expert by any means, stressed about this myself, with 5 children, it's very stressed. But the more y'all can learn about financial aid and saving for college, the earlier you can do that, the better. So we're going to have Ms. Vinsel is going to talk a little bit about that later, I think, in this presentation. So she'll kind of go over that with you. Something that's very important for parents and students to do is have a realistic discussion about what's possible. You know, a student may have grand ideas about where they can go and what they can do, but realistically as a family, this is what we can do. Maybe, you know, you're going to have to stay in state, and that's great. There are wonderful Tennessee schools to go to, but having that conversation is very important. Explore summer opportunities. They could get a job. I know a lot of kids are super busy with sports and other activities, but doing that, getting a job, an internship, volunteering this summer is a wonderful thing to do, and all of those things can be put on college applications. Just continuing to build that resume is a great thing to do, starting as a freshman. That's all I've got for freshmen. It's an easy year. Just try to encourage your students to enjoy it, focus on those grades, and just kind of learning about themselves and their interests and exploring those. What questions do you guys have for me? Yes?
Can you explain what the senior data or data sheet is?
Sure. Yeah. So I think it's on the website, right? The senior data sheet is on the website. And that's just what we ask the seniors to fill out so that they can give it to their teachers and they can give it to us to explain to us and show us everything they've been involved in, because we don't know all 400 of them. So that's really useful information for us. And again, they can use that as their guide to kind of their resume, or they can create their own, whatever is easier for them to do. But something during senior year for them to give to us to explain to us what they've been doing is really great, especially for our recommendation letters. Yes? Do we have an example? Yeah, I mean, honestly, there's a lot out there. You could Google it. There's a whole lot. But we can give them one if they want to stop by. Yeah. And again, that senior data sheet's a really good guide of kind of how to set things up. Yes? It's 10 hours a semester for the volunteerism diploma. Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay, Ms. Ankram, are you ready?
Hi everybody, my name is Susie Ankram and I am the sophomore counselor. It's nice to see you all here. Do I have sophomore parents out? Let me see. All right, that's quite a few of you. Good, I'm glad to see you all. So as you can see, I am technologically challenged and my slide does not have pretty pictures like Ms. Salser, so I apologize. But some of the things that are really important that I've been working on with your students is to help them to understand, as Ms. Salser said, that grades count and to try to really maximize their GPA. I'm meeting now with each one of the kids to kind of go over their transcript, looking at graduation requirements, talking about GPAs, and helping them to understand the differences between a standard class, an honors class, an AP or dual enrollment class, and how that works with the GPA as far as the weighting and whatnot, so that if they, you know, at this point in their sophomore year, they still have 2 more years to work on that GPA. So if they feel that they can accept the challenge and take on a couple more weighted or a couple more honors or AP classes, that's really going to help to increase their GPA. Oh, this is not my updated slide. Okay, that's interesting. All right, well, that's okay. So the second thing, it says read, and I had gone ahead and I had changed it because we don't just want students to read. We want them to work on all of their academic skills. And so what I had changed that to was to be thinking about preparing for the ACT and the SAT. Next year is juniors. They may have already taken it before as younger students, but next year all of our juniors will be sitting for the ACT, many of them for the first time. We had a great turnout this year with our sophomores when they took the PSAT, which is the practice SAT, and we got the scores back. We were really happy with the scores. They did a great job. But taking a look at the practice, getting into that score report. The score report, I don't know if everybody has taken a look at it, but it gives a wealth of information about how they did on the test. It breaks it down into each section. It gives them strategies for improving, like if they had maybe a weaker section, it'll talk about things they can do to improve that grade. And that transfers over to the SAT. Now, just last week, we had all of our sophomores take the Princeton Review, which is the practice ACT. So they also got an opportunity to take a look at the format of the ACT to kind of get an idea about the pacing, because it's paced very similar to that, the types of questions that they will be seeing on the ACT when they take it next year in March. So we want them to, be aware that it always helps to prepare for these tests. Over at the Brentwood Library, they have Saturday workshops for students to go in and take practice ACT tests, which is a really great idea. Again, the more your students get familiar with the structure of the test, the types of questions, the pacing of the test, the better they're going to feel about going into it for real. They're going to be comfortable, they're going to feel more confident because they're going to know what to expect. Other places that students can prep for both of these tests, we've got the SAT website as well as the ACT website. Both of them contain really great test prep resources. Often they give students access to the retired tests, and the student can take the entire test and it has it paced on the website for them. So again, it gives them a lot of extra practice and familiarity with the test questions. So really encourage your students to not wait until, right before the test. Get in there, do some practicing, maybe attend a couple of those workshops. We also have an ACT review class that's available within our curriculum. And I know a lot of students have taken advantage of that, and it seems to really help. So again, if your student is looking for maybe a semester class to kind of balance out their schedule, maybe they want to take personal finance next year, they're not sure what else to take, that ACT review class is a really good option. All right, as Ms. Salser said, exploring extracurriculars. Hopefully your kids have had 2 years now to kind of find out what's available in Brentwood as well as just within the community, maybe kind of narrow down their interests and what they want to learn about. And so we want to encourage them to continue on with those extracurriculars, making sure that they use every opportunity that they have to show leadership skills, organizational skills. A lot of the universities talk about wanting to see kind of a pattern start to form on the academic resume as far as extracurriculars. In their freshman year, maybe they're not real sure about what it is that they're interested in or they want to do. So they they experiment, they join maybe a large variety of clubs and organizations, and then kind of continue that through their sophomore year. Hopefully by the end of the sophomore year, going into junior year, they've really kind of fine-tune their focus. They know what they're good at. They know what they're really interested in. And so try to narrow down the focus of the extracurricular and show some consistency within it. So that's what they're, when I go onto the college websites as far as prepping for college admission, that's one of the things that they touch on as far as, wanting to see kind of a pattern start to build with the extracurriculars. And talking about extracurriculars, summertime is a wonderful opportunity for students to get into college workshops that are offered. Most of our colleges have really great workshops and classes, programs that they've offered. I've been working really closely with Governor's School for the last couple of months with a lot of our students that are interested in it, and I'm so pleased to say that we're starting to get some results back. And even though Governor's School programs mostly focus on juniors going into their senior year, because that's the last time they can apply for it, I'm really happy to say that I've gotten some results back from a couple of my sophomores, and they've already been accepted into it. And I've had a great number of them be waitlisted. So I'm really excited and just thrilled that they're getting some good results from it. But certainly Governor's School is not the only program out there. There are so many different programs, and they cover just a multitude of topics and interests that your student might be thinking about going into as a post-secondary option. So really check that out, and try to encourage your student to think about attending one of those programs. Not only is it great to expand their interest, but most of them offer like a week, if not longer, of residential living on the college campus. So it's a wonderful opportunity for kids to get onto the campus and really kind of experience what it's like on a daily basis to be at a college. So again, and they also get a chance to network with people. They get to network with other students that share their interests, as well as the professionals that are in that particular field. And networking is a great thing. Sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know. So it's a great opportunity to expand their contacts. All right, and learning about colleges. I know I've said this before, but it's so important for your kids now as they're finishing up the second year of their high school career to really start thinking about what they want to do for their future. Do they want to go to a two-year school? Do they want to go to a tech school? Are they going to go straight into a four-year university? There's so many different options out there, and it takes a lot of time to research the different universities and what they offer and what the positives and the negatives are about each school. And so you definitely don't want to wait until the last minute for that. If you can, use the summer or long weekends, maybe spring break that's coming up as an opportunity. If your family's traveling, maybe there might be a university in the area that you're vacationing at. Definitely take that as an opportunity to get your student onto campus, even if it's a college that you're not necessarily interested in. It's a great experience to just get on that campus, walk around, see the school union, the rec centers, maybe visit into the dorms, just to let your student experience that so that they kind of start to get an idea about what it's all about. And that's going to help promote their interest and maybe motivate them to start doing some research online through some of the search engines. There's a lot of great information online that kids can go into, parents can go into, to really get kind of the nuts and bolts of each one of the universities, especially like admission criteria. That's if your student is interested in a specific school, definitely have them check out what it takes to get admitted to that school so that they can start to kind of focus on that if they need to. Maybe if they see that the average GPA for freshman acceptance is between a 3.8 and a 4.2, and their GPA is still kind of hovering around a 3.6, that's a good motivating factor for them to really focus on the next 2 years of getting their grades up as strong as they can. So lots of good information, and so we really encourage them to check that out. And that's pretty much all I've got. It's a lot of continuation on what Ms. Salser spoke about with the freshmen, and just kind of maybe ramping it up a little bit as they get older. Have any questions? Yes.
I'm wondering, is there summer jobs there for teens or youth employment service?
Mhm.
can obtain this summer. And it seems that a lot of people are saying, oh, well, we need to be 60. Some people,
Right.
some 50, some, are there camps that,
Mhm.
recruit for any sort of service like that?
And that's a really great question. I am very new in the area, so I don't know if anybody is familiar with that specific type of thing. I myself have not seen it come across, like a lot of times we get emails about opportunities and things, but I'm not.
As far as 15-year-olds, I know some of the grocery stores and restaurants, like Publix, Chick-fil-A, Kroger, and stuff like that, but I don't know about any type of job fair for teenagers.
One of the things that I can do is maybe we have I can't remember her name right off the top of my head, but the district gal for the CTE. That would be a great question to contact her about. So let me do that. I'll send her an email tomorrow and ask that question. And if we find out that there is something like that available, we'll definitely go ahead and send that out to all of you, to your emails, and provide that information. That's a great question. It would be nice if there was something out there like that for the kids. So maybe we'll find out that there is. Anything else? Yeah.
You mentioned GPA for college admittance.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the same GPA that's used for financial aid from the state, or is it the GPA because there's two on it?
Right, and I believe you're referring to the Hope Scholarship GPA. It is not. The one that we report to the universities is the weighted GPA, and so that unweighted GPA is only used specifically for the Hope Scholarship. Anybody else?
Yeah, just kind of going on the prior question, is there a list of volunteer opportunities for Brentwood High School? Also that they can, kind of pick from a list and
Right.
and,
Not so much a list that I'm aware of, but when kids come to ask me about it, some of the suggestions that I give are, a lot of families have a church that they're involved with, and so I know a lot of students are doing volunteer hours through their church programs. Maybe if their church runs like a food drive or a soup kitchen, something like that. Those are very common service opportunities that a lot of kids use. Mission trips. A lot of students go with their families on mission trips, and that's a wonderful opportunity to get quite a few hours to turn in. Other places, I know a lot of my students volunteer at the local libraries, the animal, like the Humane Society. Really, it's nice if a student can pair up the volunteer opportunity with something that they're interested in. And so, a lot of them do that. Just trying to think, like a lot of the local food drive and soup kitchens that are out there, the Goodwill Industries, I think that they use, sometimes they have volunteer opportunities for kids. So those are just some of the suggestions that we offer.
to build on what you're saying, there's a website called Hands On Nashville that kind of
Oh, okay.
volunteer opportunities. They might have different ages.
All right, well, thank you. That's something I wasn't aware of. What's it called again?
Hands
Hands
On Nashville.
on Nashville. Okay, great.
There's another one, and the high school actually has a service club. It's called justserve.org.
Mm-hmm.
And it tells all service opportunities, whether it's one time, if they have, if how far you want to go, some right here in Nashville,
Mm-hmm.
some further away, or in Brentwood.
Okay, so that's justserve.com. Okay, thank you. So you guys are teaching me things.
That's a club too. Yeah, and there's at least one or two other volunteer clubs as well.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, certainly there are several clubs, and a lot of, actually that's a good thing that you brought that up. A lot of our kids do get a lot of opportunities for service through the clubs and organizations that they're involved in. So, good point. Mm-hmm.
How are volunteer hours in the summer weighted, I guess, towards the spring semester or the fall semester? They're supposed to get 10 hours each semester.
For the volunteerism diploma, I believe. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So technically, they're supposed to do their volunteer hours during the school semester. It's not supposed to be in the summer. But if we're all being honest in this room, what really matters is that your student is volunteering to help somebody, right? So I don't care when they do it. They can put it in the Google Doc and we're going to count it, okay? Because that's all that really matters to us, is that they're actually helping. But if you want to get technical about it, they're supposed to do it in the school year. Okay.
Can I just follow up with
Yeah.
GPA question before? So we have a weighted GPA. The school asks for your unweighted GPA. We can submit our weighted GPA. Will they go back and like recalculate that and say, oh no, that's not right? How does that work?
Okay, because this gets really complicated. So the HOPE GPA is not our unweighted GPA. We only report the weighted GPA at Brentwood High School. That's all Williamson County will permit us to report. If you want an unweighted GPA, you can recalculate it yourself, or if you don't report one, the college can recalculate it in their own way with their own system. But do not report the HOPE GPA as the unweighted GPA, because it's not. You can have all A's on your Brentwood High School transcript and have below a 4.0 HOPE GPA, because the HOPE GPA, an A, isn't the same as RA. RA starts at a 91, the HOPE GPA starts at a 93 for an A. So if you get a 91 or a 92 in a class, it's going to calculate as a B for the HOPE GPA. So if you have all A's on your transcript and you want to report an unweighted GPA, it would be a 4.0. It might not match up to the HOPE. It's very complicated, but do not report the HOPE GPA, ever. The only reason we have it on transcripts is so that a child knows if they qualify for HOPE and they didn't get a 21 on the ACT. And that's because years back, a student thought that he had at least a 3.0 when he didn't, because it showed his weighted GPA only on his transcript. And he never made a 21 or above, and he got really upset when it came to graduation and he didn't qualify. And he thought he did. So then Williamson County went back and said, we are going to put the HOPE GPA on the transcript. It is not an unweighted GPA.
Is that clear? I hope so, because I don't think I can explain it any better. So I'm Jill Wood, and I'm the junior counselor. Who in the room has junior students? Okay, so we have a good mix. I'm going to just talk through a little bit here about what's going on with the class, highlight what I think you might be most interested in and it might be most helpful. So all the juniors took the PSAT last October, and then they just took the ACT March 1st. They'll be given another opportunity to take the ACT in October. So between we're going to probably, between 3 and 8 weeks, we get back the results of the ACT scores. And then you will have, your child will have the opportunity to take the ACT any number of times throughout the year. But we do encourage you to consider the December test. Try to maximize the score and consider the December exam as your last attempt, because many schools will only accept that December score. I don't know if there's anything more to say about that other than the test optional is that most schools are not considering the standardized test scores for admission. So what that means is that you've got a whole lot more students applying to these colleges, so the percentage of acceptance is much lower. Now, then you probably wonder, well, why should you even take it? Well, the scholarships at the universities, they base their scholarship money on the test scores. So, for instance, a 27 to a 30 will be a certain amount of money per semester or year, and then 30 to 33 is the next typical tier, and then 34 to 36 is often full tuition in a lot of schools. Now, there are every university has their own website, and you have to kind of think about it like you've got some web designer that's trying to market the university, and so it's very difficult to compare the schools when you're sitting there at a computer. And that's why, like Susie said, it's really important to visit the colleges and to step foot on the college campuses. And you get a feeling, you walk around and you just get a feeling like this place is for me or it's not for me. And so the junior year, you're kind of pulling together your list of schools, maybe a handful of schools to visit. And we're all meeting with our students one by one right now to talk about the courses for the next year. And so as I meet with the students, I'll ask them, what are you thinking of as far as schools? And more times than not, the first thing out of their mouth is that they want to go out of state. Okay, they don't want to stay in state. And so I think it would be, I'm just going to give you a little tip here, and I've got 2 daughters in college right now. And so I've been through this as a parent, and then of course I do this for my job. So I can understand, where you're coming from in terms of, pulling the money out of your pocket and how are we going to save for college and how are we going to pay for it and all that. So I would recommend touring the schools that are out of state first, and then come back and tour the schools in Tennessee. And that's what we did. And I looked at my husband and I said, well, why would we go anywhere else? I mean, we've really got some great opportunities here. But your child won't know that if you don't walk them around and show them all these other places. Now, what really makes it clear to them is when you make a spreadsheet of the costs of what it will cost to go out of state versus in state. And I'm going to jump, I guess I'm not even looking at my slides. I guess I'm getting there though. Cost of in-state education. So I have 2 girls at an in-state school, and they both scored high enough on their ACT. Thankfully, they did each take it 4 times, and that was the magic number, and we don't pay any tuition, thankfully. But you really won't believe me when I tell you this, unless you have a child in college, and I didn't believe it either, but I thought for the first one, I would just keep track of every dime that we spent. And I mean, literally, it was every dime. It was the cost of the sheets for the dorm room. It was that first Costco run. That first Costco run's like $400, really. I mean, to get all that soap and the shampoo and, snacks. And so I kept track of everything for the freshman year, the sophomore year, the junior year, and the summers too, because we don't require our kids to work while they're going to school because we just want them to finish in 4 years so that they can be off our books. And but they do work in the summer, and but not during the school year. And so, however, they each have taken at least 1 class during the summer. The oldest is a nursing student. She's going to be graduating in May. And so she, for instance, came home and took organic chemistry at Columbia State in the summer between. And so anyway, I'm talking about all year long. And so it was all 3 terms. And they're both in sororities, which that's been a really good experience for both of them. They're both in different sororities. And I don't really shell out a lot of money. They get $50 every Saturday. And if they call me on Friday and they ask for it early, I say, nope, you got to wait till tomorrow. So I'm just telling you that I'm not, I don't make a lot of money. They really don't pay us very much. We really, I really encourage you to yeah. So anyway, so I added this up and I looked at this and I thought, $90,000 after the junior year. I thought there is no way that we've spent $90,000. We haven't even paid any tuition. And I went back and I kept looking and I thought something's wrong, and I looked at it and I looked at it. I mean, it's on an Excel sheet. There, it adds it up for me. And so then I looked at it year by year, and it was really pretty much right at $30,000 a year. And so I kept thinking about it, and I thought, well, if you take $30,000 and you divide it by 12, what we're paying out is $2,500 a month. And then it kind of dawned on me that we really are supporting another life outside of our household. So we're paying for another roof over them. We're paying for their food. We're paying for completely supporting another human being for $2,500 a month. And I honestly don't think that I could find any place to live, certainly not around here, and support myself for $2,500 a month. So then it kind of was a little more, then I kind of understood a little more. But going into it, I never would have thought that an in-state education would cost that much money. And I'm happy to share the spreadsheet if you'd like. I was going to share it tonight, but I thought, maybe you wouldn't all be that interested. But I'm happy to share it if but it is an eye-opener. So all that to say, I really encourage you to consider an in-state education for that first step out of Brentwood High School. Another thing I've learned over the years, because I'm probably about older than everybody in this room, is that when I went to college, a 4-year degree, I was able to support myself through my adulthood until I went into this profession. I got a master's and additional, but all through the 90s, I had a great job in the music business. I just had a 4-year education. But now it's really just the next step. If you really look at the professions and what's required, a bachelor's really, there's a few exceptions. Nursing is one. You can make a good living with just a bachelor's degree, but most professions will require you to go on and get at least another 2 or 3 years of a master's or an additional certification. So this next step is really what, it's really just kind of the next step. And so, when you look at your master's and doctorate, there won't be a Hope Scholarship for that. So even, there's students that come in my office and they're being very honest. They say, we just haven't saved for college. We just really don't have any. What can you tell me about scholarships? And I jump all over this Tennessee Promise in 2 years free, because it's just such an awesome opportunity that the students won't have later. So March 22nd is UTK night for juniors. And the rep for our area we have not done this before, but the rep for our area is going to present just UTK. It's going to be like a tour of UTK only in Brentwood. And there's a panel of students, I think a handful of students that are going to be here. And so the students and the parents are invited. And it is just for juniors, but we're going to try that and see how that goes, and may become a tradition. And let's see, 6? Oh my gosh. Okay, yeah. This presentation is tonight, and and the UTK night is at 6. So I apologize about that. Anyway, there's so much we can, we don't want to keep reiterating everything, but I'm just sort of telling you where we are right now. This is what the discussions that I'm having with all the juniors right now. So are there any questions? Yes.
You mentioned that your daughters took the ACT 4 times. If you were thinking that you wanted to take it, say, a large number of times like that, when would you suggest starting to take it, and kind of how you can space that out if you were, say, looking into more than just when you put all your eggs in the one first basket?
Okay, so it depends on your math. The ACT math section just covers through Algebra 2. So if the student is taking Algebra 2 the freshman year, then I would suggest take it in April or June at the end of that freshman year. But many students take Algebra 1 the freshman year, which means they don't take Algebra 2 till the junior year. So when we give it to them in March, they're still not quite through Algebra 2. So it really depends on the math when you first start. And I also wanted to say that we have a really great program that was, it's actually available to anyone in Williamson County, but our English teacher, Laura Spretniak, she started the Boost Academy, and she's finding that it's a 16-week boost, and the teachers are hired from all over the county, and they come here to tutor the kids. Currently it's Thursdays from 4 to 6, and that's the current session. The next session starts in April and goes through June, those 16 weeks into June. So that's a really great opportunity if any of you, once we get these scores back in March, April is when it starts again, and so that's a really great program, and there's scholarship money available for that. And she's finding that the students raise their scores on average 5 to 6 points, the composite. So, yeah. All right. Yes?
I'm hearing from friends at other schools that they're getting help with their college essays from the school, either through their English class or through some special sessions that they're having. I'm wondering if Brentwood High School has considered adding that as sort of.
Well, that takes place in our English classes. Is that not part of the curriculum? Yeah, our English teachers, you're saying no? Oh.
How does, I guess it's depending on what level English class you're in. Matt Grimes did, he taught junior forever, he did that. And seniors, when school started, the 3 senior English teachers began with the college essay.
This year?
Yes.
I mean, I don't think dual enrollment does it.
I don't think
Mm-hmm.
But the English classes are.
so. Basically, some years do something.
I'll make sure to run that past Matt Grimes, who's department head of the English department, because it's our understanding that they are working on that at the beginning of freshman year, the beginning of their senior year.
Yeah.
And then, also Matt, who does, well, I know this past summer that Dr. KK did a seminar that was like three or 4 days during a week. She did a college essay boot camp type of thing. So I'm sure that we'll be having something like that again this summer. We're just not aware of it yet.
And another idea is that, and we keep emphasizing to all the students that it's so important that every student advocate for themselves, and whatever they need, take the initiative to go out and look for it and ask the questions. So for example, if you're not getting what you need out of the English class for the college essay, then your student has the freedom to go any day of the week, 5 days a week, to any English teacher that does enrichment. And they walk in and they say, I'd like some help on my college essay. Well, the English teacher is going to gladly help them. So that's, if they want help that way. Okay. Gosh, I guess I did just such a good job. I just answered all your questions.
And Ms. Sulzer already hit the move on to the next slide. So that is me, Lori Eggleston. Don't know if very many of you are senior parents, but maybe if you are here, you have younger siblings. But this is kind of just talking about what we've done over this past year. So we highly recommend that the summer after junior year that you start doing a little bit more intensive research into what colleges serve your interest or your needs for college, and start doing some visits. You're about to go on spring break. If you're going, to Seaside and you're going to go right through, I don't know, a college town, stop in, drive around campus to just kind of get a feel. The biggest thing is just get your kid on some campuses so they can kind of see the difference in the colleges. They can't know what they want if they don't know what's out there. So, even here in town, we have, a small private, we have a large private. At MTSU, we have a large public university. So even just going and doing some, tours in just here locally gets you some ideas of just some of the different options that are out there. As Ms. Sulzer said, continue working on that resume. It really is important to just, even if you print off that senior data sheet or just start a notebook, writing down the things that they do, because I could tell you by senior year, Logan had no memory of what she did freshman year, and there were probably some things that would have been, important to put on there that she just completely forgot about. So keeping up with those kind of tasks or things that you do as you go along really is helpful. We have kids that always come back and ask us, like, did I make honor roll that year? I mean, we don't keep a list. I don't even really know if we do honor rolls anymore. But, those are some type things, like those little awards or those little, things that your kid might get honored for. Have them just go ahead and start making note of that. Again, end of that junior year, you're going to meet with your counselor, like Ms. Wood now, and you're going to look at what classes to take senior year. You're going to make sure that you're continuing with that same amount of rigor that you've had all through high school, because you don't want to get to senior year and all of a sudden decide that you're going to take everything standard. You want to make sure that you're just continuing to take the same amount of rigor. And then, again, if you want to take that ACT or SAT again, now's the time to sign up to do that. I do suggest, I'm sure my colleagues as well, that I suggest you take one ACT and one SAT just to see which one you do better on, to see which one you should focus on. Each of them are going to, get you qualified for different levels of scholarship. So, you may just test better on one than the other. So knowing which one you test better on, then you can concentrate on that one. The ACT is a requirement for graduation. So that's why we give the ACT. But I've heard that they may be doing away with that soon. In the fall, as soon as we come back to school, you're going to jump right into those college applications. Going to start, requesting for recommendations from your teachers, requesting recommendations from your counselors or people in the community. Going to start to narrow down that final list. At this point, I would think maybe going into junior year, maybe you have 10 colleges that you're interested in. Well, by the time we get to fall semester of senior year, I think you should probably have that whittled down to about 5, maybe fewer. If you've done some serious searching, you may have it down to 2 or 3. Keeping track of all of the applications and all of the scholarships and all of the different things you do are important. We've had students that just do, an amazing Excel spreadsheet where they're just keeping, track of deadlines and that I've already done this check. So there's some amazing ways of just kind of keeping up with all that you've done. Writing those essays. You can right now, if you have a sophomore or junior, you could go on to the Common Application, which is an application that about 500 or more colleges now use. So you only have to fill everything out once. But you can go on there and look at what the essay questions are for this year. And your student could start, working on some essays for just practice. And then you never know, it might be the same question next year and they've already fine-tuned that essay really well. Work on the FAFSA, and I think Ms. Vincel will talk a little bit more about the FAFSA in a few minutes. And then again, if there's still 1 or 2 colleges on that list that you haven't seen yet, try to go see those schools. I just think it's extremely important that you step foot on a campus and visit a campus before you decide to send your child and all your money there. Because, I've had students go really far away and have never been there, and they get there and they don't know anybody. It's just not a great experience. So really think about all that. by spring semester, hopefully you're done with all of those applications. There might be a few scholarships and things that are coming up that you can still apply for. Do not get senioritis. I really haven't experienced it very much this year, but it's usually when we come back after spring break that they just kind of hit that wall and they do not want to do anything else. So just encourage your students to, keep at it. Review all your acceptances, and it's really important that if you get accepted to a school and yay, I know I got in, but I don't want to go there, let the college know that you don't want to go there, so that way it can open up space for a student that might be on a wait list that is waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, and you already know you don't want to go there, so just let them know. There are a lot of students that will apply to 30 schools just because they want to see if they can get into X, Y, and Z. I don't have the money to pay for that many college applications, but if you do, have at it. Again, make sure you're taking care of your room and board. A lot of times, it might be like March 1st is when housing opens for UTK. Well, you got to make sure that you're on that because you want to be able to get one of the better dorms. Also, make sure you turn in all of that, any money that you may need for the dorms, et cetera, and then make sure that you tell your counselor where you've decided to go. I don't know many of you have seniors, but we will be sending out information soon to the seniors where we will request that they let us know where they want their final transcript to go. And that also tells us where to put in the program that the student will be attending college. So that'll be, information that will be coming out shortly for your seniors to let us know kind of what their intentions are for this next step. Just things that really matter in your college search, and you can kind of look through these yourself, but you got to know yourself. You got to know what your interests are. You got to know if you want to be in a big city, a little town. And I'm going to throw Shay under the bus right here. My youngest went to Tuscaloosa. She was at Alabama for an entire year, and she was not happy there. She wanted to be able to go out to good restaurants, and she wanted to be able to shop, and you really, like she said, there wasn't a whole lot of that in Tuscaloosa. Well, she's now in Cincinnati and is so, so, so happy. So, you got to know what kinds of things it is that your student likes and wants to be able to experience, so that way you can hone in on that and make sure you're not, I should have known Shay doesn't want to go anywhere that's rural, but she did. It didn't work out. So make sure your student, know what their likes and dislikes are. Talk about, again, the college. I mean, do you want big D1 sports? Do you want to make sure there's fraternities and sororities? Is that important to you? Those are just some things, as you visit campuses that you'll learn a little bit more about and see if that, kind of matches what your student's interested in. Again, social media. In my 50s. I'm so remember life without social media, and I don't know how to work it a lot. But I know these kids are getting on so many different college sites and liking this and liking that and friending people at different schools. So they know a whole lot more than we do probably. But, there is so much information out there. Again, talking about, how many students that actually, start at a university, finish at that university. That's information that's really important too, because it lets you know, like, what type of, I don't know the retention that they have, like how many kids that go off to a 4-year school actually stay there for that second year. How many of them end up coming home and going to Columbia State or a community college, and, should they have done that in the first place and saved you a lot of money? So those are some things to make sure you're not going away to a 4-year school just because, everybody in your neighborhood is, or that's where, all the kids that were in your kindergarten group are going. You need to be making these decisions for yourself. Again, just knowing, what's important to you and your student. I mean, there may be some kids that, you've known since you were 2 that you're going to go to UTK and you're going to go there, and that's great. But make sure you're going to a school for the right reason. I mean, it's not just because, there's a particular person graduated from there or whatever. Like, make sure your student's going, choosing a school based on their wants and needs and not yours. So just some things, again, just to really be thinking about as you're looking at colleges. The academics, do they have, what is going to continue to challenge your student? They also have the major that your student's looking forward to. Is it affordable? I mean, really, like, you don't need to come out of your undergraduate owing a whole lot of money, because most likely you're going to need a graduate degree and maybe even a PhD or a doctorate. And so don't come out of that first 4 years owing, $150,000. So, we have some great options here in the state of Tennessee that are really a lot more affordable. The community, making sure that, A, is it closer to home? Or B, is there a group of people there that your student's going to be comfortable with and that they're going to feel at home? Where's the location? You can go on College Search on College Board, and you can put in, I want to stay within 3 hours of Nashville. And it's going to tell you all the schools that meet that criteria. And there might be a lot that you didn't even know existed. What's the selectivity? Like, what's the percentage of, students that get accepted that actually apply? That's very important to know. What kind of support is there? I mean, a lot of students get away, they get away so far away from home and realize that they don't have that, that support that they had when they were close to home with all of their friends. So making sure that, that college campus either has a good support system for your student, or that they're going to get involved in some things that's going to provide that support system for them. And then again, you just, what's available in the community? Are they things that your student is interested in and that's going to keep them interested more than just school, home, school, home? So those are just some ideas of things to look for in colleges. Ms. Vinsel has quite a bit to talk about with application process and scholarships and things of that sort. And I know we're getting maybe a little long-winded. So any quick questions for me, or can I hand it on over to her? And I'll hand it over.
Okay, I am Shannon Venzel. I'm one of the senior counselors, and I have a lot of slides. I think I've got about 6 or 7 left. So I'm going to go through them pretty quickly. We are going to email this out, and we'll have it on our website and announcements. So if you want to go back and review everything I talk about, since I talk so quickly, feel free to do that, and you can always email your counselor or me with any questions you have over what I'm going to go over. Okay, first, I have a scholarship checklist for seniors. I like to have seniors start here when they come and ask me for scholarships. I think a lot of kids, their parents maybe ask them to come talk to us about how to get school paid for, like it's just a sheet you fill out and send in. But it takes work, it's effort, it's very tedious, and it's really important to set aside time each week to do some scholarship searching. But this is a good check sheet to start with, maybe junior year, or at the very latest first semester of senior year. I'm not going to read through everything, but I will quickly say that most of your money is going to come from the college where you end up going. So where you can do lots of little scholarships to fill in the gaps, most of your money typically comes, statistically, typically comes from the college. Another important thing to think about is FAFSA. It's too early to do it right now if you're juniors or below. Seniors, this is a great time to go ahead and log into your FAFSA and fill out your application and submit it. Some people in this area might think, I don't need to do FAFSA because I won't get any government help because I make too much money. And that could be the case for some people. However, you have to do FAFSA to get HOPE. And FAFSA also helps the colleges understand what you're expected to pay based on your specific situation, no matter how much your income is. Because it also depends on things like how many other kids are in college in your household and things like that. So I highly recommend doing that, even if you don't think you're going to qualify for free grants from the government and things like that. But the most important thing is remember that ACT and the GPA will make a huge difference on how much tuition you're going to pay. And I'll show you a chart here in a minute that goes into more detail. Next. Okay, scholarship list. We, all of the guidance counselors in the district have come up with one scholarship list where maybe Franklin High heard about a scholarship, but they didn't tell Brentwood about it. Maybe I've gotten an email about a scholarship and Franklin didn't get it. So we've collaborated and created one Google Doc that has all of the scholarships that are brought to our attention listed in one spot. The student has to be logged into their MyPlace account in order to get onto this list. So you can't do it for them unless you're logged in under them, okay? So this will be emailed out, so you can click on this, preferably with your student, but maybe for your student, to look at all of these. And we have them broken down by due dates, month by month. So you can look at the January deadlines, the February deadlines, and it'll have a blurb about it and usually the direct link that you can click on to apply. So this is a great place where if you want to look for a shorter list of legitimate scholarships. That's not every scholarship in the world, but it is a good place to start. Okay, test optional. This has come up. It's been the buzz all year. COVID has really changed how colleges are expecting and accepting tests. And I've heard things, just rumors buzzing left and right. So my biggest takeaway that I'm giving to y'all is to contact the college and ask them. Don't expect the counselors to know. Don't expect your student to know. You shouldn't expect to know. Every college is different. Some are test optional still, some are going back to wanting tests, some scholarships are based on test scores. And I even heard this year that Auburn had test preferential. They were what was the term they used? Test preferential. So they had a bunch of students apply without test scores that had really great GPAs, and then a group of students that turned in ACT and had lower GPAs, and the ones with ACT scores got in where the others were waitlisted. It was at a private school. It wasn't Brentwood kids, but it was a big ordeal. And so then Auburn said, well, we're not really test optional. We're test preferred is what they called it. We're test preferred. So that was kind of a shock to me. I mean, I found that out halfway through the semester just from some private school counselors. So every school is different. They're going to do what they want and what they decide for the next few years. And it's you and your students' responsibility to figure out what the colleges are going to expect. But I don't think this is, let's not take the ACT, who cares? We don't need to do it, because that might not be the case, okay? Next. And tomorrow is the college fair is a great place to hop around and ask the reps what they think, because they can give you direct answers where I can't. Okay, this is my favorite slide because this is a chart that I did not make. Someone at central office made, but it's awesome. And it has basically a graph of ACT scores plus GPA and how much money you'll get from these schools. These are just some really common schools for Williamson County students. And BAM is listed twice because they have like kind of a matrix of GPA and scores, but I really like this, and you can see how much money your student would get if they get the combination. I'm not going to go through each one, and if you didn't get a picture of it, we will send this PowerPoint out. Okay, PSAT and SAT. Some people move to the area and they don't understand why we put so much emphasis on ACT and not as much on SAT or PSAT, which we do kind of put some emphasis on PSAT. The reason is the SAT is not a graduation requirement in Tennessee. You might go to another state and it's a graduation requirement, but here we require the ACT. They are two different tests, college entrance exams. I'm also not going to read through every single detail, but the Scholastic Aptitude Test is the real SAT, and here's some information about that. And if you want to go to College Board, you can do a lot of research and test prep there. I will talk about the PSAT. The PSAT is the preliminary. It's like a practice SAT. It's not used as a college entrance exam, but it's a great thing for students to do because junior year, it will count for National Merit Scholarship. We at Brentwood High School highly encourage 8th, 9th, and 10th to take it as a practice round so that when they get to junior year, their score can be possibly National Merit status. We have always had the most National Merit finalists in, I think, the state and maybe like top in the country. We always have 15 or 20 kids get National Merit, and it's because we really push for them to take it 8th, 9th, and 10th grade as a practice round. So let's see, it's usually around 19 or 20 bucks, and it's in October. We will open up registration in the fall. But if you do have a rising 9th, 10th, or 11th, and even 8th grade, just try to remember to look out for that registration in the fall and encourage your student to take it and really take it seriously. We are also going to do some test boot camps this summer for ACT and PSAT, but we have details to follow because that's still kind of in the works. Any questions before I move forward? Okay, great. All right, ACT. ACT is the one that's the graduation requirement in Tennessee. So we do require that for kids to graduate, and we really push ACT from the beginning, and you saw how much money students can get based on their ACT score. Now, if a student takes both the SAT and the ACT, one might be higher than the other, and they could get scholarship based on the SAT, even though we really push ACT here and require it. So I don't think it's a problem to encourage your student to take the SAT and see how they do. But here, we do require it for graduation. BHS offers the ACT on Saturdays and the SAT that you can sign up on your own and you pay for. But we do have a free ACT that we do for juniors every spring. We had it last week. And then we have a free ACT in the fall for seniors. And that usually falls in October. So those two are free. If they show up at school that day, they sit down and take it. It counts as a real one. But they can take it on a Saturday whenever they want, as many times as they want. I think I put the limit up here. Yeah, up to 12 times. So nobody wants to take it 12 times. But you can if you want to pay for it and if they want to sit through it. We do have the ACT prep classes we've talked about. I already mentioned that we're doing a boot camp this summer, but I also put the link to the library where you can take a practice ACT on a Saturday. It's free, but you do have to register for it. So if you want your student to sit down for a free practice test at the library, there's the link. It's never too early to at least get them in the habit of timing themselves for the ACT and sitting down. It's a really long test. So where their score might not be as good until they get through Algebra 2 and chemistry, but I personally think the more practice and prep, the better. So the library does a great job of helping with that. Okay, talking to your college rep. I will not read through these because you have these on your flyer. If you didn't get a blue flyer on the way in, make sure you grab one on the way out. We have all the colleges that are coming tomorrow during 5th period. It's open to kids and parents. And our wonderful intern has come up with some great questions that kids can ask the reps, because a lot of times kids will go to a college fair and kind of wander around and they don't want to talk to an adult, a stranger. So we've come up with questions for them to specifically ask the colleges that they're interested in, or maybe they don't know anything about. So you can read over those. You can give that to your student. We will be passing them out at the college fair tomorrow on their way in. But these are great things to ask. I think one of the most important ones, which we've added to this slide, I know it's on the form, is asking the college about test optional, because I think that's the most important question, one of the most important questions, and we're all misinformed because there's so many rumors going around. Well, we're never going to take the SAT or the ACT again. Well, they're bringing it back this year. Every school is different. So that's really important to ask. Was that it? No, that might be it, really. Okay, great. Do we have any questions? Because I know I talk too fast. Yes, you'll have to create an account and then you just add it to cart. I think it's like $50. I would recommend doing the writing portion on a Saturday, because when they take it for free at Brentwood High, we do not do the writing portion, which is an essay. The reason we don't do it at school is because it's not a graduation requirement, so the state won't pay for that part. If you select the ACT with writing, it's going to be a little bit more, like I think an extra $15. But that way, when they apply to a college that requires it, they don't have to go back and sit for the whole thing. They've already done the written portion, and they can do that. So I would recommend doing that if you're going to do it on a Saturday. Yeah. Colleges, I would guess it's more than that. I don't have a number. We have students all the time that have to submit it. But it's Brentwood, so they're going to do a lot of Ivy League reach schools too. So it just depends. That would be a good thing to research before you go and take it then, If they know they're only applying to MTSU, WKU, and UTK, they won't need the writing portion.
Yeah. That's a good question. So she was asking if you have to submit the entire score when you super score. And super score means like if you got a 36 in this area when you took it on in October and you got a 36 when you took it in March on this area, some schools will take all of your highest scores from your subtest and count it. And that's called super scoring. I think for the most part, they make you submit every single score report that you want super scored because it has to be an official report. And I don't think there's a way to submit just a subtest of the ACT. I know right before COVID hit, they were talking about doing an ACT subtest sessions where you'd only go in and take the math and you'd only go in and take science, just like kind of like SAT does the subject specific, but then COVID hit and I don't really know what happened to that. I'm test coordinator here, but since I don't do the Saturday tests, I don't even know if they're gonna bring that back as an option, but from what I know, and y'all tell me if you know anything different, I think you have to submit the entire report. Now, some schools are letting students self-report their GPA, self-report their transcript grades, and self-report their scores for ACT, SAT, PSAT, or AP tests. But I do know that those schools, once you're accepted, make you prove everything by sending an official copy that has to come directly from the site. And I don't think they would just send a subtest. Anybody else? Yeah. I guess August, maybe July or August. I know I always get like my first request to fill out a student's Common App, usually right around the time that school starts. Yeah.
I know that in at least a couple of years ago, in Common App, one of the essays was a very general question. You choose something that you want to tell us about yourself. Do they do that every year?
I have no idea. They always have like 6 or 7 prompts, and some schools even have their own specific prompts that students have to do in addition to it, but I don't know what, I'm not sure about that one. I don't even know how to find the answer for that. Common App is pretty tricky when it comes to customer service. They don't want anyone calling. They don't have a phone number. Like there's no email. You just have to figure it out on your own. So I don't have a good answer for that. I will research it if you want me to though. Yeah. Oh, okay, that's a great question. So Miss Wood is the class of 2023, right? Yeah, 2023. So she will be rolling up as the senior counselor, and she will stay with her group of kids. I am one of the senior counselors that stays with the seniors every year. So I do a lot of the work with Common App, helping with like any type of application stuff. I collect senior data sheets. I help with recommendation letters. Any questions kids have that's college related will come to my office. Miss Wood is knowledgeable about all of that too, but she will be doing the day-to-day college stuff, social, emotional, scheduling, all the normal stuff that she's done all these years leading up. And then if it's a college-specific question, it'll come to me. I am job sharing with Janet Wolf. She's a retired counselor that's been at Brentwood for like 20 years or something. So she and I job share. I'm here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and she's here Thursday, Friday. So we both do the college stuff, and we're hoping to do that again next year. Any other questions? Okay. Awesome. If you think of anything after you leave, please feel free to email us and look for this on the announcements and the websites. Thank you.